Good evening, it's Rebecca Sullivan from Lewisville Family Counseling. As I started back in January of 2020, I will be reading a chapter from Just One Thing, Developing a Buddha Brain One Simple Practice at a Time by Dr. Rick Hansen. And chapter 22 is called Be Mindful. Before I start, I would like to encourage us all to be more mindful of ourselves and our roles in society. To be mindful of our thoughts and our feelings, of our judgments, our actions. It's not just enough for us to say, well, I treat everyone equally, and so it's okay. I still remember when I was in, I want to say it was 6th or 8th grade, my teacher gave us an article on white privilege, and I remember thinking, what is that? Because even when I was in kindergarten, my best friend was the only black girl in our class, and so to me, I was just raised not to think about those things because everybody was a human. But then as I got older and reading that article, and even things like a skin-colored Band-Aid may match my skin color closely, it's not necessarily skin-colored for everyone. And so a lot of times we aren't mindful of understanding how, even if we feel like that we are not oppressing other people, there are structures, there are phrases, things that we say, things that we do that are harmful to others, that can make others feel like we feel that they're less than. People that we relate to or talk to or organizations that we're part of may have inherent structures that have perpetuated a injustice, racially or otherwise, towards people who are different than what the majority of people in that organization may be. And so I want us to be mindful of the way that we think and feel and speak, and to really check ourselves and be mindful of our judgments, and know that sometimes not standing up, not speaking out is complacency, is allowing for these structures to continue. At Lewisville Family Counseling, we are looking at ways that we can try to help, and ways that we can not only help with people that are being oppressed, but also to help with people understanding why this is important. What does this mean for me? Especially if you are somebody who falls under that category of white privilege and you are treated differently without asking for it, but it just happens. For us to really recognize what that means. So again, I'd like to encourage you to be mindful. And now we will begin chapter 22, Be Mindful, where Dr. Rick Hansen will talk about ways that we can use mindfulness to reduce our stress and anxiety. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Anything that we do not have the answers for, we will definitely look for those answers. And we appreciate all the input and feedback that you give us. Thank you so much. As we saw in the introduction to this book, the movement of information through your nervous system, which is what I mean by mental activity, most of which is unconscious, can create lasting changes in brain structure. Neurons that fire together wire together. In particular, this rewiring is accelerated for what's in the field of focused attention. In effect, attention is like a combination spotlight and vacuum cleaner. It illuminates what it rests upon and then sucks it into your brain. Since attention is largely under volitional control, you can direct it with conscious effort. You have an extraordinary tool at your disposal all day long to gradually sculpt your brain in positive ways. Unfortunately, most people do not have a very good control of their attention. It's hard for them to rest it where they want it and keep it there, such as an important but boring meeting, or the sensation of one breath after another, and hard to pull it away from things that aren't helpful, like senseless worry, self-critical rumination, or too much TV. These reasons include temperament, for example, anxiety or spirited, personal history, for example, losses or traumas that keep them on edge, and our hyper-stimulating ADD-ish culture. Happily, attention is very trainable. You really can develop better control of your spotlight vacuum cleaner. This is where mindfulness comes in, which simply means being steadily aware of something. As you practice being mindful, you will gain more control over your attention. You could be mindful of what's around you, perhaps key details at work, the deeper wants of your partner, flowers blooming and children smiling, or where you left your keys. You could also be mindful of your inner world, such as soft feelings of hurt underneath brittle anger, your good intentions and basic decency, or unrealistic expectations that set you up for disappointment. Mindfulness has a lot of benefits. It brings important information of what's happening around you and inside you. It helps you witness your experience without being swept away by it, and to hold it in a large context as your mindful awareness increases. Negative experiences have less impact on you, and the duration and intensity of what you are paying attention to tends to increase its traces in your brain. Consequently, mindfulness really helps you take in positive experiences. To some extent, mindfulness has become associated with Buddhism, but all the world's religions and moral traditions value being mindful rather than mindless. Additionally, mindfulness increasingly is taught in secular settings such as hospitals, corporations, classrooms, professional sports, and military training. Studies have shown that regular practice of mindfulness thickens the cortical layers and regions of the brain that control attention, so you get better attention in itself. Add neural connections in the insula, a part of the brain that supports self-awareness and empathy for the emotions of others. Increases the relative activation of the left prefrontal cortex behind the left side of your forehead, which helps control and reduce negative emotions. It strengthens your immune system and reduces the impact of pain and accelerates post-surgical recovery. It's pretty great for a simple method, mindfulness, that you can use privately and effectively anywhere you go. How do we do this? Mindfulness is natural. You are already mindful of many things each day. The problem is that most of us are mindful only a few seconds at a time. The trick is to have more episodes of mindfulness and to lengthen and deepen them. So set aside a minute or more every day to be deliberately mindful, focusing on a specific subject of attention. For example, sensations of breathing, or widen to whatever moves through awareness. You could extend these movements of mindfulness in longer periods of meditation, letting your mind become increasingly clear and peaceful. Then throughout the day, add some additional times of mindfulness when you remain stably present with whatever is happening around you and inside you. If you like, use recurring events such as meals, a telephone ringing, or walking through a doorway as a reminder to be mindful. It will support and deepen your mindfulness to bring your attitude of curiosity, openness, non-judgmental acceptance, and even a kind of friendliness to the things you're aware of. Also try to develop a background awareness of how mindful you are being. In effect, you are paying attention in order to get better at it. These practices will be gradual, train your brain to be more mindful, which will bring you many rewards. For William James, the first major American psychologist, wrote over a century ago, "The faculty of voluntary bringing back a wandering attention, over and over again, is the very root of judgment, character, and will. An education which should improve this faculty would be the education par excellence." So again, please work on mindfulness for yourself and for the world around you, making sure that we take note of what's going on, how we feel, how others feel, and ways that we can be caring and compassionate to others. Thank you so much.